Welcome to Unit 4, Lesson 2, Ratios and Rates with Fractions. We're going to get started with the warm-up. So we're going to do some calculating with fractions. So you're going to find each quotient mentally. 5 divided by 1/3, 2 divided by 1/3, 1/2 divided by 1/3, and 2.5 divided by 1/3. Pause the video and take 5 minutes to complete this now. Welcome back. Let's check and see how you did. So if you can remember, we can always put this over 1. So your whole numbers can always go over 1 because it takes, so if you have 5, it takes 5 ones to make a 5. So this would represent 5 wholes. And because we're dividing, we can't divide fractions, so we need to multiply this. So we're going to multiply it, and it's going to become 3 over 1. We're multiplying by the reciprocal. So 5 times 3, you should have gotten 15. Let's go to the next one. We have 2 over 1 divided by 1/3. Again, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So it's going to become 3 over 1. 2 times 3 is going to be 6. And because the ones are going to be the same, this would still be over 1, but 6 wholes. Now we have a 1/2 divided by 1/3. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 3 over 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6, which is also going to be 1. Oh, sorry. Nope. 1 6. Oops. I made a boo-boo. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. So it's going to be 3/2 or 1.5. And then we have 2.5. So we can actually change this to be 5 over 2 multiplied by 3 over 1. So 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 1 is 2. If we were to simplify that, we would have 7 and 1/2 remainder. So we would have 7.5. So you should have gotten 15, 6, 1.5 or 3/2, 15/2 or 7.5. Let's move on to the next part. Activity 2.2, a train is traveling at. So a train is traveling at a constant speed and goes 7.5 kilometers in 6 minutes. At that rate, 1, how far does the train go in 1 minute? Well, you might remember some of this from our previous unit back in Unit 2. So we're going to want to divide to find the speed. So I want you to think for a moment, are we going to divide 7.5 kilometers by 6 minutes, or are we going to divide 6 minutes by 7.5 kilometers? Yeah, so we're going to divide 6 by 7.5 kilometers. So we can change this into an improper fraction. 7 times 2 is going to give us 14. So when we multiply it by 2, we get 14. We add the 1, and we're going to end up with 15/2. So now we can do 6 divided by 15/2. This 6 is going to go over 1, and we're going to end up wanting to multiply by the reciprocal. So it's going to become 6 over 1 times 2 over 15. 6 times 2 is 12. 1 times 15 is 15. And we have 12/15, but we can divide those. Those are both divisible by 3. So if we divide the top by 3, we divide the bottom by 3, we will end up with 4/5. So how far does the train go in 1 minute? It goes 4/5 of a kilometer per minute. So they're going to ask us, how far does the train go? Oops, sorry, this is the opposite. It travels. I'm just going to grab a sticky note to fix the sentence. Because we did the minutes divided by the kilometers, so it will go 4/5 minutes per kilometer. And that's for number 1. Let's look at number 2. So how far does the train go in 100 minutes? So this time we're going to want to do it the opposite way. We're going to want to divide 15 over 2 divided by 6 over 1. So we're going to flip it, 15 over 2 times 1/6. We're going to end up with 15/12 or 5/4. So this is how fast the train goes per minute. So that's the distance traveled per minute. And now we've got to figure out, well, if we have 100 minutes, we're going to have to multiply this by 100. So we have 5/4 times 100 over 1. 5 times 100 is 500 divided by 4. Well, you got to think about 4 goes into 500 how many times? We can do it this way. Let's do some long division. So we have 4 and 500 goes in once. We subtract, we have 1, 10. 4 goes into 10 2 times. We have 8, 2 left over. 4 goes into 20 5 times. So this is going to simplify down to 125. But what does that 125 stand for? It's going to stand for the kilometers that it traveled in 100 minutes. So in 100 minutes, it travels 125 kilometers. Okay, let's turn the page and we're going to go to 256. So we have Lynn ran 2 3/4 miles in 2/5 of an hour. Noah ran 8 2/3 miles in 4/3 of an hour. We're going to pick one of the questions that was displayed, but so the question that we're going to answer is, who ran faster, Lynn or Noah? So that's the question that we're going to choose to answer. And now we've got to figure out, well, who ran faster? Let's figure out how much they ran per hour. So if it takes Lynn 2 3/4 miles in 2/5 of an hour, we've got to calculate Lynn's speed. All right, so to find Lynn's, we're going to have to divide the hours by the miles. So we're going to go hours over miles. So we're going to do 2/5 divided by 2 3/4. Now, if we're going to divide a fraction by a mixed number, we're going to have to change this into an improper fraction. So we have to multiply 2 times 4, and then we have to add that to the 3. So 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11. So we have 2/5 divided by 11/4. But remember, we can't divide fractions. We have to multiply by the reciprocal. So it's going to be 2/5 times 4 over 11. 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 11 is 55. So for Lynn, it's going to take Lynn 8/55 of an hour to run 1 mile. So it will take Lynn 8/55 of an hour to run 1 mile. Now we've got to figure out Noah's so we can decide who ran faster. So again, we're going to divide the hour by the miles. So for Noah, it's 4/3 of an hour divided by 8 2/3. Again, we're going to have to turn this into an improper fraction. 8 times 3, and then we're going to add the 2. So 8 times 3 is 24, plus 2 is 26. So we have 4/3 divided by 26/3. And we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to have 4/3 times 3 over 26. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 26, so 26 times 2 is going to be 78. So we are going to have 12/78, but that's still a little bit big. I'm going to divide both of these by 6 because I know both of these numbers are divisible by 6. So I'm going to divide by 6, divide by 6, and I'm going to end up with 2/13. So 2/13. So it takes Noah 2/13 of an hour to run 1 mile. 2/13 of an hour to run 1 mile. All right, so we've got to figure out, is Lynn's 8/55 of an hour less time than 2/13? Well, there's a lot more pieces to the 55ths than there is to the 13ths. I want you to think for a minute, which one do you think ran faster, Noah or Lynn? So if we think about it, 8/55 is a lot of tiny little pieces, tiny little pieces, whereas the 13ths are going to be bigger chunks. So the more of these we have, the bigger it is. So 8/55 and 2/13. And we couldn't even simplify this because 55 and 8 are not divisible by the same numbers. So I would say Lynn ran faster because it takes her less of an hour to run 1 mile. All right, and that is it for Unit 4, Lesson 2. See you next time.